Thank you very much, Helene, and thank you, Stefan. So we have you guys have a couple of hours with me, Jasper, Stefan, and Alan. So what I'm going to do at this point is that first I will introduce you. Most of you know, but I'll just give a brief presentation, a 10-minute presentation about the hub, what it is, and then we will go on for the hands-on session, but more about that later. Let's get started about the general concept about what the IBISBAHub is. Yeah, so as you can see that you've heard about IBISBA from Peter so far, and you also heard him mention about the hub. So what I would like to add to that is that the hub is a key part of the IBISBA ecosystem. So what it can do for you is it will help you record your project progression, that is the IBISBA project. It will help you manage the results that are the outcome of all your projects. You can register your data, you can register your protocols, and you can register your computational workflows. You can, of course, build a library of data format templates and processes, which will eventually be an asset for the IBISBA consortium, and people across the IBISBA consortium can use them. It is also a support accessibility, by which we mean that you can have your either your fully published projects there, or you can still keep it locally till your project finishes. So importantly, what the IBISBA hub can do for you is it acts as a data management repository. So if you have a local data management system at your institute or your lab, the IBISBA hub will be a complement to that data management repository. Or if you don't have one, then we provide a complete management resource in the form of IBISBA hub. So in the long term, what is the long-term purpose of this IBISBA hub once, for example, your project has finished and you're out of the system? So this, for us, is going to be a resource for IBISBA to the EU and the ESFRI. So at the end of it, when the IBISBA project finishes, we have this resource where what we did during the 5-year tenure of this project and what we gain. So in short, the IBISBA hub is a scientific platform to share all the scientific data related to the IBISBA projects. Now, you as facility operators are major stakeholders of the hub. Why we say that? Because when you are registering your project on the IBISBA hub and you are registering relevant data or related data to that project, you can also, in addition to just using it as a data repository, you can also access protocols and templates which have already been created by other members of the IBISBA hub. So it also will act as a checkpoint in your business process models, because you can upload results and protocols at different levels, and you can create links to standard operating protocols, now which we in the new terminology, we call them protocols. So because all of this is stored there, so you have easy access to all of them. And of course, as we know, for example, in case of TNAs, they are multi-site projects, multi-lab projects. So it can act as a very handoff facility, very useful handoff facility between various labs or between various IBISBA sites that are being used during a project. So from the point of view of the facility operators, this is going to be very useful because you'll have a streamlined system available to you. Now, how we do, let's get back to IBISBA hub, how things work on that. And this will also help you with the idea of when we do the hands-on training. So this will make a structure in your head that how the project works on IBISBA hub. So the first step, what you do on IBISBA hub is you register your project with its name. Now, how do we store these projects, or what is the structure that we follow on the hub? So we use the ISA framework, which basically stands for investigation, which is your research context, or as you might call it, the hypotheses of your project, what you're going to research about. Then there is the study, which is linked, which is a unit of the research. So under investigation, you will have multiple studies that you want. So by study, we mean here that you will be looking into different branches or different aspects of that investigation that you want to do. And then to study this, you will have different assays, for example, the experiments or computational analysis that will be associated to each study. So what the ISA framework does is, it will help you to provide a complete description of your experimental metadata. For example, for each stage of your project, for each assay, for each study, you can use sample characteristics, you can add technology use, the measurement types, sample to data relationships. So basically you'll have a complete metadata associated to each step of your project. Now, what this does is how this helps in terms of data management is that your project is being organized and the data you produce will be easily reproducible, reusable, or as we call it, interoperable. So that this is a very important requirement, as many of you or most of you will know these days, all your journals or all grant bodies ask you for data management plans and data management processes. So the whole point is to making data usable, reproducible, as we call it in our terms, is the fair data. So IBISBAHub is going to help you organize your data in that way. Now, how we go about it is that you register a project on the hub, you create an ISA, now you have to create an ISA structure. Now, what we do on the hub is there are multiple ways of creating this ISA structure or by ISA structure, that is organizing your project in these 3 steps. So there are multiple ways of doing this on the hub. One of them is you can do this manually. The other one is we use the IBISBA populator tool together with the TASCU tool, which is developed at TASCU is developed at VTT. But today, for the sake of simplicity, when you're doing a hands-on training, we will just be demonstrating the use of IPOP tool, the IBISBA populator, which is basically an Excel sheet. And obviously you'll also do it yourself. We will go through all of this one step at a time, that you'll first create a project, register a project, and then go to the next step with Alan of creating the ISA structure. Then the last part that we will do today is that you will learn to upload and register your data files to the hub. So what this gives you the flexibility, as I said, that because the hub is going to be a complete stepwise from the beginning of the project to the end, organization of your project. So you can associate your data files to the project. And by data files, we mean any type data to quantitative results, tables, figures, whatever input or output that is associated with your project you can upload it to the hub. You can associate it with your projects, and then you can associate with it with the assays. For example, for each assay, which is an experimental assay, you will have multiple data outputs coming from it. So you can exactly assign which data file is coming from which assay, basically giving you complete organization. What you can see it as a structure from the from the point of view for publication, the way you categorize or divide your paper into introduction, materials and methods and results. So in the same way, you'll have this organization where you have these data files, which are the results. You can associate them to assays, and you can have those introductory figures, whatever you have in terms of things that are related to the project, you can put them in the IBISBA hub in a very organized manner. Now, other than that, other than just registering your project in the hub or having your organized project or a data repository, there's more that the hub offers. For example, you can have you can register your protocols as Peter referred to. You can have workflows, you can associate publications, you can associate documents. Now, what we mean, in addition to that, for example, when you have workflows, you can push the data that you have attained onto external computational platforms like Galaxy. So these are features which are in addition to IBISBA Hub acting as a data repository or your project organization repository. So you have other functionalities there. Now coming to this, now to make the use of IBISBA Hub or to give you more information about the IBISBA, for example, when you're new to IBISBA, for example, our TNA4 members who will be joining soon. So we are trying to create a handbook. So the aim of this handbook is we want it to be a complete user guide where it is providing information and instructions to run an IBISBA project right from its inception to the end. Now, we want the handbook to cover all general information about IBISBA, outlining its purpose and scope of IBISBA subsidized access. Basically, for an operator or a user or a researcher, the handbook will be telling you what to do, when to do, and how to do an IBISBA job. Now, this is what we aim the handbook to be, and we are still in the process of creating this handbook. We are still developing this handbook. So your help, your contribution is solicited and welcome. What we have also been doing is, before the holiday season started, we were doing one-on-one meetings with the IBISBA sites or IBISBA facilities. So this was helping us, we were doing hands-on with these facilities and getting feedback on the IBISBA hub. We learned a lot from that. And what we have decided about that, we are forming an IBISBA hub club. So all the facilities are always welcome. So far, as I've mentioned here on my PowerPoint, that we have had sessions with Wageningen, UAB, WITO, NTUA, CNR. We have had one-to-one sessions with them, and they have also agreed to be a part of this IBISBA club, hub club, what we call. We also plan to have, in addition to these one-on-one sessions, we also plan to have a first joint meeting of the club in the last week of September, or I'll send a doodle poll around and we'll see the best date we can fix so that everybody can participate and benefit from the Hub Club meeting. Apart from, the contribution of my colleagues here, Jasper, Alan, Stefan, we would also like to thank Xiao Ming from the Heidelberg Institute, who has helped us to set up the training sandbox, which we're going to use in a few moments. Before we start, if you can see on the agenda, we have first 15-20 minutes to do registration on the training instance on the IBISBA Hub, which we have created for the purpose of this workshop. So we had sent around an email asking all of you to register. So you please click onto that link and then click on the register button here, if you're seeing my screen.
Yes.
And you put in your username, whatever you wish to be seen as, and then you put maybe I'll try to do it here and you can just follow me and put your email ID there, choose a password for yourself, confirm the password, and then click register. And then on the next page, you can add all this information. The ones with the red star are compulsory. The others you can do later on, or you can do now. Okay, so I think we're all registered now. So I'll just quickly take you through that how we plan to do this, the first session here, so that we have an idea that how we are going to proceed. So what I'm going to do first is, so our first part is about creating a project on the Hub. It is a fairly simple process. What I'm going to do is that I will first give a quick demonstration of, I will do it and you will just look at it on, I'll share my screen and you'll see there. What we have done is we have prepared some material for you, which will make it easier for you to do the project creation and multiple steps. I'm going to share a link of that material that we have created for you in the chat in a moment. And you can use that data to fill in your, blanks or fill in, or the data files that are required for you to upload data to the upload data or create projects. So we have created a bunch of documents which you're going to help, and I'm going to guide you through them. So to begin with, I will give a quick demo about creation of project on the IBISBA Hub. This will familiarize you with the environment of the Hub, etc. So before doing that, I'm going to share a link where you will see all the material that you can use for your hands-on training. so I hope everybody can see this link and access the data there. So this is going to be very difficult because, as Helene said in the beginning, that we were expecting an in-person workshop, so the training would have been much easier there. But I'll try my best. It is as interactive as possible, and I'll try my best that we can address your questions and any difficulty that you face when we are doing the hands-on session. So what we're going to do now, as I said, this is going to be a quick demo. So this document that is on the left side of the screen, a Word document which says project creation on the IBISBAHub. This is a similar document that is present in the link to the folder that I sent to you, and you guys will also be able to use this. So I'm going to give a demonstration of how to create a project on the IBISBAHub using this document, going through stepwise to it. The first step, obviously, is you go to the sandbox on the FAIRDom. You click on this link, which you can see on the right side of my screen, which is already there. And the first thing I'm going to do is, obviously, I'm going to log in. Enter the password. And there we are. So this is what, although this page here says, welcome to the IBISBAH training instance, but this is an exact replica of the actual IBISBAHub. So this is just to, this instance has been created so that you can create your own project and play around with this. So now we will go to the step 2 on the left side of the document. So after logging in, we will go to this create button here and click on it. And from the pull down menu, we'll click on the project, because as I said, the first thing to do is creation of project on the hub. And this is a page you will see. Now, as you see here, we have kept the information available for you. Now, the first thing you do, you put in the title of the project. So what you'll simply do is just copy this and paste it on the title and replace the your name by actually your own name. For example, I'm going to do it Munazah's project. Then the next step is we need some description for your project, which we have put here for you guys. So you can again just copy this description and paste it onto the description panel here. Now then we have additional information like funding codes, which are basically here the IBISBAH funding codes. So for the purpose of usage or example or demonstration, we have this EU Horizon code here, which I'm going to put here, which is a part of the, which is actually an IBISBAH code. Then you can put in information like public web page. And for the sake of example, we are putting this IBISBAH.eu. So all this information is the information that is related to your project. You can have a different public web page, or you can, the next is you can have an internal web page. We don't have one. For example, you can just put something like we're putting here example.com. So this can be your intranet. Now this, the next step here is it asks you for the start date and the end date of the project. So for example, if the TNA4s, they'll start in January 2021. So that's the date we can put here. So for the purpose of this example, I have put in today's date, that the start date of the project is 29th September, and the end date can be 2025. So that's it. Then you go to the next panel, which is associated program. And when you click on this from the pull down menu, so usually you will have other options coming up here, which may be like a TNA project or any other project that is under the edges of the IBISBAH. But for the purpose of this training, we will call it a training program. Next, you will choose the institute that you're associated with, which in my case is University of Manchester. And in your cases, we are all the institutes that are registered in the IBISBAH you'll find in this pull down menu. So the next we are coming here is to use the organism that you're working on in your project. Right now, you may not find all the organisms that you will work on later on in the project, but because this is just an example setup here. So today's project, we are going to use Aspergillus niger because this is the project we are following today as an example. So you choose the organism on which you're working. Then again, this is an important issue. The next thing you need to choose is the kind of license you want your data associated with, which in my case, or for case of example, we have used the Creative Commons license. You can have multiple, you can have the license which you think suits your data best. Now this is, the next that you see is the default sharing policy that we can do on after the project is created. There's one more panel here, which is the discussion channels. This is if you have any URL or any link, that is where you have had discussions regarding this project, you can put a link to it here, or you can even leave it blank. And that's it, that is the first stage, and we'll hit the create button. And a project by the name of Munazah's Project 2 and Inventory of Aspergillus niger is created. So this is the first session that we will run through, and all of these steps have been laid out in the document that is on my left-hand side. Now, once your project is created, there are some optional steps that you can do, which are mentioned here in the document. And again, I'm going to run through them quickly, which is here on the action button.
Munazah?
Yes.
People are having problems with the licensing.
I think I will address them once they're doing it. Let me just finish, and then I will address all the questions. That's what we decided. Okay. That I'll take the questions once this demonstration is over, before they start. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. The optional steps that you have here, so you have more options that you can, for example, click on Manage Project. And what it will do is it will give you the opportunity, for example, if you want to edit any parts of your project, basically if you want to update the description or the title, or for example, you want to change the license. Now this is important. I did not go through this before, because you can only choose the sharing policy after you have created the project. So as Helene said, when we say we are publishing on the hub, it does not mean it is there for the entire world to see. You have the choice to to do whatever you want your project, whether you want your project to be confidential or open to the public. So which you can do here to the public if you want to keep no access, so this will remain completely confidential. Or if you just allow people to view the project, then you can just click on view, or if you want them to download, you can click on both of these. Or you can just choose no access to the project. So I assume, and we all assume, that this is very important for everybody. In addition, there are other things. You can also administer project members. For example, I want to add my colleague or my lab member, Alan, to the project. So because Alan is a registered member of IBISBA, he can his name will pop up, and I can just add his name, add his institution, and confirm changes. So you can do this from the manage. You can also, now among the members that are there that you have added to your project, you can also choose who you want to give the administration rights to. That is totally your choice, maybe nobody. I don't want to give administration rights to Alan right now, so I'll just keep it to myself. So this is basically your first part of the hands-on training today. You'll create a project, and these are the steps in the document that you will follow. If everybody is done and everything has gone smoothly, maybe we can move on. There are some optional steps which you can do by going to the Actions tab after your project has been created. I'm going there right here. I'm pointing my arrows. You can see the actions. So you can just click on Manage Project. So the purpose of this is that you can go back to the project and make some edits or changes. For example, if you want to change the description or a bit of the project title, or change your sharing policy, which is very important, whether you want to keep your project completely confidential or who do you want to share it with. So you can make those kind of changes by going to the Manage Project. Also, in addition to the Manage Project, there are two other options there, which are Administer Project Members. This will allow you to add more members of, for example, your team to the project so that they can also see this. And to some of them, you can also assign if you want to assign the administration role to them. or for example, if you want to add one of us, who are monitoring the hub, if you want to add us as administrators. So these are the additional steps or optional steps as we call them. So I'm going to close this document that we followed, and I am now, what I'm going to do is browse through a project which has already been created beforehand and had some additional information so that we set the stage for the next step for Alan, before which I think we have a break. So what I'm going to show you now, that what eventually your project will look like. So, so now that you have created a project and you are logged in, so what we can do is we can go to the browse menu here and we can browse projects from here. People who make their project accessible to everybody else, we can see all those projects here. So I'm going to choose one of the projects that I have created beforehand. So these are all your projects that you guys have created. So I'm looking for my own project. Yeah. So this is a project which I have created beforehand. And what you can see is yeah. So this is the project, Munazah's project and inventory of Aspergillus niger. So right now, what you see for your projects is only this structure. For example, let's go on to, so you just see your names and the project that you have created. But the next step after this is that we are going to add, as I mentioned in my presentation, the structure of the project, that is the ISA structure. That is, we're going to associate investigation, structure, and assay to the project. So what you see here under this project name, this is the first investigation that I want to do, which is understanding the extracellular environment of Aspergillus niger. And under this investigation, you'll have a study, how you're going to study this, this topic. And then to this, there will be associated assays, which is the actual experiments that you do. So there is a tree structure. It's a hierarchical structure. You have a hypothesis, you have the assays associated to that, and then you have the data that will come up. That is, we're going to attach the data associated to it. So all this, you don't need to worry about this if you're not understanding this, because after this, Alan will take you through this one step at a time, that how you're going to create your ISA structure. So in this case, for example, let's go to my project and let's go here. So this is the project that I have already created. And this, as you can see, is the first investigation, which comes up here. And to this investigation, so on each page, you will have your project name, and then this is the first investigation. And under this investigation, there is the first study that is associated to this investigation, which you can see here, it's in silico prediction, and it says it's a study. Then to this study, we have the associated obtained proteomes, which is an experimental assay. We are following the ISA structure here. You will do this in some time. We have with Alan, and we also have a similar document that we used for create project. We have a similar document for this section as well. So now after this, you can see to this experimental assay, signal peptide predictions, we also have a data file associated to it. So in this case, it is an output of that experiment. So you will see this hierarchical experiment, and at each step, you also have these further, action buttons, or that you want, if you want to explore some things, but I'm not going to go into the details here because we'll take it one section at a time. So so all in all, what I want to say is, so once your project is there, it's stored in a very hierarchical manner. You can add data files associated to it. So you'll have your investigation, you'll have your study, you'll have your assay. And once you just, like when you created the project, you got used to what the environment of the hub looks like, then as you go on, it will be more intuitive to use the hub.